Okay, so I decided that I am currently going to record this by mainly starting with system and then device manager, because those two kind of build on top of each other. You can go from system to device manager, and what I will be doing is event viewer will be a later episode or a later video that I will be making, mainly and surely because just in general I think it's better to like go in depth into that one. I don't think there's usually good videos that really go in depth. There's like exercise videos for event viewer, but when it comes to event viewer, there are a lot of settings, and I just want to go over all of them and do it in a nice package with maybe some exercises or things or that could be useful for you to go through. So I'm going to today do system and device manager. I'm opening system right now. Sadly enough, it opened on my other screen, so I'm gonna drag this one in here. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. It's not working for me right now. Windows, please, can you do what I want to? Okay, so right now we're in our system, or at least in the main window of system. If I expand this again, we can see we have a variety of things we can see here, and click on is like a very large menu with a lot of things to go through, but in general these two are part of the system. As you can see here, it actually says system. In the last video we did not go through these because power, you know, is just a minor setting in these. Not even a setting, just a menu where we can change settings. So it is a setting we can or cannot change. Now, as you can see, I am currently on my PC, and it gives me various things that are installed in my PC. Like for example, I have 96 gigabytes of RAM. I could have more. I think my computer goes to 128 gigabytes of RAM, but currently it has 96 gigabytes of RAM. It has an Intel i9, 24 gigabytes with an RX 7900 XTX, which is currently my GPU. I swapped my 40 what is it, the 4900 that is from Nvidia for this one, mainly because I need it in other devices. You know, I'm not going to see anything other than my current device here, and I have quite a bit of storage dispersed over various hard drives. I can see details in Windows security. That is this panel, but security, I believe, is one that we will go on doing on a later date. Maybe I can go through this right now, but there's just the main panels with virus and threat protection, account protection, etc., are things that I can find right here. I hope I am not showing any IP addresses or something. It's giving me quite a bit of information, but that's just in general something you can navigate from through here. And then there's even more, you know, device ID, product ID, which specific devices are installed, which is something we are going to go through, because we're going to see device manager, which is one of the items at the right that we have here. We have some frequently asked questions. I don't know why we need these specifically, but you know, nice to have. Windows usually gives these types of easy help answers. If they work, they don't always work, but like in these menus they tend to work. I'm running Windows 10 Home Edition 22H2 version. installed on 2021, so 4 years ago, and then I have an certain OS build, and I can read the Microsoft Service Agreement. But the most important parts of this window is, you know, the things that are actually in this menu. We can change the product key or upgrade your edition of Windows. If I'd like to upgrade or do something to my Windows, then I can do this here. Read the Microsoft license terms, change my BitLocker settings, which again is going to take us, oh no, this is actually not going to take us to the security. It's actually going to try and sell us something which we're not going to do. We have device manager here, as I said before, and this is an important menu to look out for. When I am in device manager, I have actually all the devices here that are currently installed on my computer. I have the audio and the various you know, plugins, or like how you'd like to call them, the various devices that I can go through and then update drivers. For example, I have never known this to work. There's a reason. There is software specifically for drivers and updating them, because Windows doesn't do this very well. I can try, so I'll give it a try. And again, the best driver already installed. Windows has determined that the best driver for it is already installed. It could be that it's already installed, but then again, it could also just be that it's saying that for no reason. Windows doesn't necessarily auto install these. You know, CCleaner has a specific tools to install drivers, and usually stuff like this audio stuff is something that is going to get outdated at some point. It's not like you have to constantly install new drivers, but I definitely myself would not update drivers through this. Usually just don't change your drivers in general if you're not specifically trying to update anything or trying to like fix something not working on your computer, because you might do more harm than good. Like updated drivers are usually better than outdated drivers, but if your computer is working and there's no problem, don't try to create problems with, like, for example, you might update a driver and your software, you know, is not yet compatible with new drivers, and then you might cause issues. But I don't think these days this is a big issue or something that happens frequently, but yet again we might want to update at some point. There's always a reason why at some point that you need to update something. You can also disable this device. I'm not going to, but you know, if you want to disable it, you don't want this here anymore. Maybe you have too many of these here and you don't want to constantly be scrolling through a bunch of audio devices on your computer. You can disable it. You can uninstall it. You can scan for hardware changes, but that doesn't do much more than just refreshing your entire list of devices. And then you have the properties. In the properties you have mainly and usually the general properties, stuff that's just an explanation of what certain things do. In this case, the manufacturer should be Microsoft. I doubt it. This is not made by Microsoft. These things are not 100% foolproof. They sometimes give you information that's totally irrelevant. I barely ever come here. It's not I don't understand why Windows, it's always been this way. I don't know, or why Windows doesn't you know, update this or make this a little bit better or more accurate. Or maybe a little bit more useful, but then again, that's just the way it is. Now, we do see Microsoft here as driver provider. I do think probably Microsoft does this as a driver provider, but this is an external audio device, so I don't really know why it says Microsoft here. I actually specifically installed drivers from the Steinberg audio device that I have here, so I doubt again that it's Microsoft, but again it might be that underlying this Microsoft is making sure that this device works with its own drivers from 2019. So as you can see, it doesn't change much or ever. And then we can go into driver details. No driver files are required or have been loaded for this device, so there is not even any drivers supposedly. In this case, we can update the drivers again, disable the device or uninstall the device from the system. The difference between these two is disable means that it's just kind of grayed out and not really used across your system, but it's still available in your system in general, and uninstall will just generally remove it altogether from your device. We have, apart from the general details, we have details more thoroughly. We can go through all these one by one. I'm not going to go myself. Bus type GUID is reboot required, is set to false. These are mainly variables that have to do with certain properties that you might need if you're a programmer, for example, or the manufacturer or some technician or whatever. That you know whether something is on or off, or where some variable is stored, or whether it's present, or whether it's accurately set. Then we have events, some timestamps of events and when they happened. Device configured and device started. So it started in 10/20/25. I don't know particularly why. Then I think maybe I plugged and unplugged this device at some point, because I've definitely had this device much longer than this plugged in. I guess that's what this is doing here, that we're seeing the timestamps when this device was last put in. Doesn't have any more information than that. You can view all the events. This is not majorly important, but again, then we can find these in the event viewer. I actually think that it might be that this is currently a thing, because I use CC Cleaner or CCleaner on my device at some point not so long ago, and that it removed any and all other information related to this device. So that's something to keep in mind. But we are not currently going to immediately go and look at event viewer, but we just saw the event viewer panel pop up, so we know that these are events that are happening in the background, and they're being logged when it comes to and is related to this specific device. There's a bunch of devices here, like if I'd like to have Bluetooth, I can do anything I would like to with these. I don't believe I actually have Bluetooth, but it does have certain compatibilities when it comes to Bluetooth. Like for example, these are protocols. We have base PC XXCC4. These aren't always like very specific hardware devices that are external. These are things that are present in my computer in general. These are, of course, these hard drives are actually located on my device. I have extra policies here. One of the policies that is really nice to look at is enable write caching on the device. Improve system performance by enabling write caching on the device, but a power outage or equipment fail might result in data loss or corruption. So this is going to write cache, but in a way that makes my system perform and faster in general, but there might be issues if I don't turn disable this, or no, enable this. And if I disable this, the data loss will be less, but it will be slower. Another thing is turn off Windows write cache buffering flushing on the device. To prevent data loss, do not select this checkbox unless the device has a separate power supply that allows the device to flush its buffer in case of power failure. Also to keep in mind, we have volumes, which doesn't really give me much at this point. Volumes is something separate from partitions. When we have partitions, we can set volumes up on these various devices. I don't think this will give me any information. I can click populate, and then it will show me exactly what this particular partition has as a volume set on my disk when it comes to, you know, how it's configured. Partition style is GPT, capacity, unallocated space, reserved space, etc. Whether it's online or offline, what type of disk and which disk it is. That's for another lesson. This is for like more specifically something where you are looking into, you know, how to configure a drive and how to set this up, and if you'd like to set up rates, etc. This is information that might be important. We got more details and events, even though there should be a lot of events here because it's been in here for a couple years, yet it's empty. And again, I blame CCleaner probably for going through this and emptying it for now. Display adapters. I have my Radeon on here, which again has drivers, details, events, a lot more events actually. I can actually go and see what type of events these are. Are these error messages? They could be error message. Yes, information and kernel error messages. Information, yet my computer has been working pretty okay. No, actually it actually crashed not so long ago, which I think is might be, no, it's actually not, it crashed I think yesterday. So it's not this long because it's 24 right now, but you know, it doesn't always collect all information. We're not, event viewer is going to come up. We will go through this in more detail, but in general you don't necessarily need to worry about these too much. This is error level messages that are or aren't very useful to us. But they might be in at some point. Generally, you only need to see these error messages when something actually goes wrong, because in general, things go wrong on your computer all the time. Your computer has been built to fix or to run even though there are errors. As long as they're not critical, it does not really matter. A minor error or issue can pop up from time to time, but again, that's not for now. Resources, and we see here some resources, memory ranges, IO range, things that are specific resources when it comes to my AMD Radeon. Processor, for example, I can look into the processor. Doesn't give me much information, isn't very relevant. What can we do else here? We can look at options. We can delete files, change to view a console file or saved in your profile. The files in your profile that store those console changes are using the following amount of disk space on this computer. Like this is negligible. This is like, I have terabytes. This is so tiny that it's like, why would I click delete here ever? Maybe if you have like very little space, but I don't think in general that you need this anyway. It might be an indication of something being wrong if this is a very large file. Again, here in actions, I can update driver, uninstall device, scan for hardware changes. So again, I can scan and then it will just refresh everything, see if anything changed. Add legacy hardware. We're not going to go into that. I can try and add some of this stuff, but I don't have any legacy or hardware like all Windows hardware. Devices and printers is something else. This is again something very old. People who have ever used Windows XP know this screen. This is where I can find information about my specific devices, where I can go again, look into the properties, the hardware. This used to be a thing that I saw so much that I have actually not seen in many years. But yet again, I meet again in this tutorial or in this video where I am looking through these. I can remove the device here, I can troubleshoot the device here, but again, troubleshooting is not something that I have ever found Windows to do very well. Not that it should, you should just Google it. I don't know why they have added so much AI into everything. Make the troubleshoot AI and then add like some sort of feedback or some AI feature that can actually troubleshoot. You can do it, Windows, do something useful for once. I can create shortcuts if I want to, you know, if I'd like to put some of these in a folder or on my desktop so that I can quickly access them. And then there's also the display settings that in this one I can change. Here I can change the sound settings specifically on my cam. It might be worth going through this for now, actually, because I don't think that I am specifically going to make a video about this. Since I'm going through these devices anyway, I can change some settings about my sound, go into certain lines. These are disabled. I think they are grayed out. If they don't have this, they are disabled, but I can still disable them, which is kind of weird. I think maybe it's not, this one is what I mean, this is disabled. Apparently this is just not plugged in at the moment, which is why the volume thing is not happening here. I don't see specifically one going up and down right now. It should be that this one is going up and down because I'm currently recording. I can see on my screen that the actual recording software I'm using is registering sound, but here it's currently not showing anything. Maybe on recording, am I seeing anything here? Yes, I can actually, I could see something pop up, but it's no, I am not specifically seeing something go up and down. But this is where we find our settings and properties when it comes to our specific devices that are sound related. I can show disabled devices or show disconnected devices, which is on at this point. I can enable these. I can again look at properties of all these, look at the levels, you know, how loud my sound or my recording device is set. I can test whether this is doing anything, and I can change some modus and see if I can set up spatial time, spatial sound. Again, not something I'm currently going to do. I can look at sounds, the Windows default sound scheme. I can set, or I can set my own sound scheme in Windows, and I can look at the communications, etc. Like just in general sound related settings that we came across. Here I have a desktop. It is, I believe, this desktop. It's not a network desktop. I can autoplay. I don't know exactly what this is going to do. I think probably it's going to just open it. I can browse files. I can see the network settings. When it comes to this device, I can see the sound setting, Bluetooth settings, if I'd like to, all set here, mouse settings, keyboard settings, regional system properties. We'll see here again, this is the panel that we had over here. If I close the device manager, by the way, we open device manager here. I actually still need to keep going through these. We have some views here, but this is this here in general. I'm going to go back because I'm going too deep into this one. I can do Windows updates and power options, etc. This is another MIDI device. I have a keyboards here. I have multimedia devices in case I want to share things over my network, and my printers and you know, standard Adobe PDF, fax. If I have any printer devices, they come up here. These are standard default devices that don't really do much, that you don't really necessarily need in general. That for that. I was going through here, devices and printers, properties. Again, if I have something selected, it will go to properties, and here I can sort based on various properties like devices by connection, devices by container. You know, this changes a little bit what the container is, resources by type, IO or memory, what kind of type it is exactly, and then resources by connection, in what fashion they are connected to each other. Large memory, this is connected to this is to this. You see, this is just this. I'm gonna guess this is what this is for example, this is my GPU, which is connected to a PCI downstream port that is inside an upstream port, PCI to PCI bridge, and then a PCI bus. So these are all the layers that it goes through in order to reach my full motherboard and probably my CPU, my full desktop that we saw, and show hidden devices. If I'd like to see devices that are hidden, I see probably this is something that is hidden. We can see hidden devices on our device. Customize, you know, console tree. We can add the console description bar, action pane. We can remove things like the standard menu, etc. And we have more actions view, and this is more of the same, just everywhere. Help topics, teach center website, etc. All these things are here and they are easily accessible. Is there anything else? Scan for hardware changes again, update device driver, uninstall device, disable device, just icons that do the same. Like, I don't know why they did it this way. Do I really need 50 options to do the same thing? Again, it's Windows and this is old. Maybe they will change it. Maybe it's changed in Windows 11. I don't know. I will not be changing to Windows 11 because Windows 11 sucks. It really... I was enthusiastic at first because it was very fast. It did what I wanted to do. I could do local accounts. It just was perfect. But I am not switching, even though some of the things look a little bit better. Other things, Windows does not design their systems really well. Remote desktop. I don't think I have that in this here, so I can actually go to remote desktop. I can look at some things related to remote desktop. I seem to not open remote desktop here as a thing. I only get, oh, I am on Windows Home Edition, so I don't actually have remote desktop. Remote desktop lets you connect to and control this PC from a remote device. By using remote desktop client available, you'll be able to work from another device as if you were working directly on this PC. Your Home Edition of Windows 10 doesn't support remote desktop. Now that is not fully the case. If I go and I go remote desktop connection, I can actually connect to a device on my network and open it from somewhere else. I'm not currently, I don't think, if I maybe I'll give it a try. I'm logging in. I don't think anything weird is going to appear, but here we have it. This is a different device on my network that mainly stores my drives or some of my drives, and I am currently logging into it. I am actually going to likely close this because this device is currently my external device is that I'm using to host files on, but the actual device itself is extremely slow and is built on top of a computer that does not work very well apart from sharing files and working over or the network. So I am disconnecting now my remote connection. Connecting to your PC remotely, solving PC problems remotely. If you want to help, you can get help here. I'm going back. I have system protection here, some system properties, the computer name I can change here. If I'd like to give my computer a certain name, I can change it here as well. I can add a domain if I am on Pro at least. Here I'm currently just doing work group, so that's not currently relevant, but if you're using Windows Server or Active Directory, this is where you'd go to add that Active Directory, and you can add a domain so you can remote control your computer through a device and manage a system or multiple systems within an organization. I can go and look at the device hardware again. Device manager is here. Device installation settings, I am not going to go through this. Do you want to automatically download manufacturer's apps for your device? I'm not going to do this, which is basically just installing drivers. And then advanced, you must be logged in on as an administrator to make most of these changes. Performance, visual effects, etc. We have some effects we can add or disable here. Show shadows under mouse pointer, I'll turn this on. Save taskbar, thumbnail, previews, maybe I'll turn this on. Animate control and elements inside windows, animate windows when minimizing and maximizing, enable peak, etc. Use drop shadows for icons. If you'd like to consume less resources, turning all of these off. Like, in my opinion, if you need to turn stuff like this off, just switch to Linux, because Linux, you can just get a very lightweight Linux distribution or a Debian or just no GUI whatsoever. Doing this in Windows is tedious because there are thousands of settings across the whole device that you can turn on or off that might save you like 0.0001% of your CPU. So this is like something I wouldn't even go through. If you specifically want something turned off to your liking, you can do it here, just so you know. Adjust for best performance, adjust for best appearance. We can adjust this for various of our personal preference, right? Advanced, we can look at the processor scheduling, choose how to allocate processor resources, adjust the best performance of programs or background services. Most people will probably want to run good programs and not background services. Paging virtual memory is an important one. Here we can allocate, when we press change, virtual memory. In case we get out of RAM, some of it can be allocated to our SSD or HDD. I hope you're not using HDD as your C drive, because that's really bad, that's really slow. But if we'd like to, we can offload to our SSD, and then our system will go a little bit lower. It's not the intent that you change this into your RAM. It's in general still the case that SSD is at the high end still half as fast as RAM in general. So it's not great, and in the long run, when you constantly do that, it's going to give issues with your drive and with your files, and it's going to really be bad for your system altogether. And then we have, I don't think there's anything left, data execution prevention. Data execution prevention helps protect against damage from viruses and other security threats. Turn on DEP for essential Windows programs and services only. Turn on DEP for all programs and services except those I select. So if you'd like some data execution prevention, then there's here some tools that will make sure that you can still execute well, and that prevents viruses from spreading across it or them. I'm going to apply, which means I now have a shadow on my cursor, which I turned on not so long ago. System protection, system restore, if I'd like to restore something. Recommended restore at some time, choose a different restore point. I'm not currently going to do this. I'll press next, but I don't really have much system restore here. I can do this throughout. I'll probably do a video on this, or maybe I do believe I will do a video on this, but currently system restore is not something that I am going to be executing. But if you'd like to restore your system and you have a state saved, then you can go back to that state in case there's a failure from your device. And for these specific drives, you can turn it on or off and configure them no matter how you'd like. So it's off for these two, and it's on for my system C drive. I can configure by enable system protection. You can undo undesired changes by reverting your computer to a previous point in time. This is more or less the same. You can adjust the maximum disk space used for system protection. As space fills up, all the restore points will be deleted to make room for new ones. So if you have specific settings in your system, you can always restore them at some point. Create a restore point. I could create one by clicking create here, give it a name, and then I'll have it restored. And then remote, I'll allow remote assisted connections to this computer. I can enable or disable this. Look at the advanced ones. And then you can set limits for the use of remote assistance on this computer, allow this computer to be controlled, the amount of time, etc, etc, etc. Options you'll barely ever need. I've been using Windows since I was a child. I've never ever needed these specifically. I do use remote access a lot. It's very easy and very great on Windows, but Google has its remote by Google, and that is a very good option to switch from, because that's just online. You can access it from anywhere, and I personally prefer the Google one over the Windows 1. The Windows 1 hasn't been updated since the 90s. So I am not going to go too much into remote accessing with Windows in specific. Maybe if I'd do something about Active Directory, then maybe I would. If you'd like to monitor or troubleshoot over a network on a system in general, when it comes to some company you work for, etc., that could be a thing. I think system protection is what we just went through. Advanced system settings is what we went through, and rename this PC, also something we did already. I think this is going to be stuff for another video altogether. This video has already been 40 minutes long, and going on too long would be very tiring, so I could just go to a part 2 and then you'll see me there.